More Democratic obstruction and outbursts from left-wing protesters on Kavanaugh's first full day of questioning by the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer trying unsuccessfully to shut down the hearing earlier.
The Republican majority on the Judiciary Committee is pressing forward with a confirmation hearing on a Supreme Court nominee whose record has largely been shielded from the Senate and the American public. The Republican majority is deliberately obstructing the Senate's constitutional duty to fairly and thoroughly conduct our advise and consent powers.
President Trump also weighing in on how his Supreme Court nominee is handling the grilling from lawmakers.
I'm happy with the Kavanaugh hearings. I watched today for a little while. I saw some incredible answers to very complex questions. He's an outstanding intellect. He's an outstanding judge. He was born for the position. I think that the other side is grasping at straws, and really the other side should embrace him, because you're never going to find better in terms of talent or intellect than what you have in Brett Kavanaugh.
Judge Kavanaugh easily fending off Democratic attacks. He also laid out his judicial philosophy and, of course, answered questions about Roe versus Wade.
I'm an independent judge. For 12 years, I've been deciding cases based on the law and the precedent.
What sort of loyalty will you owe to the president?
If confirmed to the Supreme Court and as a sitting judge, I owe my loyalty to the Constitution.
What would you say your position today is on a woman's right to choose?
As a judge, it is an important precedent of the Supreme Court. By it, I mean Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Been reaffirmed many times. Casey is precedent on precedent, and I understand the significance of the issue. I always try, and I do here, of the real-world effects of that decision.
So, Dana, do you think that answer about Roe versus Wade will satisfy Democrats who are upset about his nomination or not?
Well, it is the same answer that Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor gave in their confirmation hearings, and that was satisfactory to them. So it really isn't about that answer. It's what they believe to be the underlying political beliefs of that person. So I thought he answered it fine, because he answered it just as the other nominees had done. I really think he was untouchable on substance today. At the beginning, when he started quoting Federalist 69, Hamilton, and then just could go through all of the cases. I mean, you really separate the people who just watch legal dramas on TV versus the ones who are actually real legal scholars like
I always hold back from citing the Federalist 69 during this show.
Yeah, you don't want to lose the audience.
Yeah, it's just going to go over their heads.
I saw that on Cinemax.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting one, that's for sure. I do think, so he was compelling personally. There were some lighter moments, but that was with the more senior members of the committee on the Democratic side. Even Senator Feinstein, at the end of her questioning, said, "Thank you for being so forthcoming." There was a funny moment where he was asked, what do you want to be remembered for? And he said, "I want to be remembered as a good dad," and he moved on, and Feinstein whispers, "and good husband." And there's laughter, right? So it's like, even if these Democrats don't like President Trump, it's hard for them not to like Brett Kavanaugh when he's there answering all of their questions. And interestingly to me, I believe that the Democrats have started to pivot from trying to block his nomination to trying to influence him. And I would point specifically to Senator Whitehouse, the Democrat who said he was concerned about amicus briefs and these outside groups who are funding them and wasting the court's time, and that this was bad, and basically it was like, when you get on the bench, could you check into this? And Brett Kavanaugh says, "I'm actually worried about that too." "Yes, sir, I'd be happy to." And you mentioned some of the senior members asking questions. Some of the junior senators on the Democratic side are going to come up in a little bit. Senator Booker, perhaps, who Gutfeld has a great imitation. I don't know if he's going to share that, but we're going to dip into Booker if he comes up in a little bit.
Yes, I will. I only do it for special occasions. I have an answer to this endless marathon, because we know. Let's face facts. We know how this movie ends, right? We know who's going to vote which way and who's going to vote against. It's kind of like watching Die Hard or Die Hard 2. You fast forward through the slow parts. So I have a solution. They should record these hearings, but don't air it live, and then a week later air it but we fast forward through it. So we sit here and we could boil this down 4 days into like 40 minutes to the vote. So we don't have to suffer through this. So we already have it like a movie, and then we all just sit there. We just fast. Okay, this is good, and then we skip this part because, frankly, it is interminable. And the protesters, I think they're giving protests a bad name because I'm very, very pro-protest, but not all protesters are crazy. But I'm convinced that all crazy people are protesters. It feels like a mob action, a frustration that they can't somehow have an impact. So all these lonely cranks get together and they scream like hyenas in a bear trap. I'm sorry, I find it objectionable.
I thought you were going to say all crazy people are Democrats, but you would never say that.
I would never say that because you know what? I'm not into the tribal thing.
No. You're definitely fair and balanced, more than I am.
That was for Juan.
Someone said something the other day, and it reminded me of something you've said in the past, that the TV cameras and the networks shouldn't zoom in on the protesters when they're shrieking like hyenas and giving them all the attention. Instead, like a football game, if you have some streaker run out into the 50-yard line, Juan, NBC and CBS and Fox don't take it because they don't want to encourage that type of behavior. Do you think that's a good idea?
I'm surprised, but the problem may be that I was watching Fox, but I didn't see that they ever focused on one of the protests.
No, we don't very much.
I've seen it on a few occasions.
Jesse, what were you watching?
I don't know what Jesse's watching.
It might be C-SPAN. Am I watching too much C-SPAN?
I don't know what you're watching. But anyway, I would say that the news out of this is one, I wanted to just double down on something Dana said. I think the Democrats acknowledge the reality. It's going to be very hard to stop this nominee. They don't have the votes. At the same time, what you hear from Republican Senator Graham spoke to this today is, hey, look at the number of votes that prior candidates got, Republican or Democrat. People know a Republican's going to nominate conservatives, liberals going to nominate liberals. And he says, but I'm so sorry that you won't be able to say to your kids, your family, that you got 90-plus votes in support, which is what, for example, Scalia got. Or what I think it was up in the 60s and maybe 60s, I'm sure, that Kagan and Sotomayor were able to get, right? So it's bipartisan. But we live in such polarized times that right now he's not going to get any Democratic votes, I don't think. I know you guys are salivating over red state Democrats.
How many votes did Gorsuch get, Juan? Did he
I
get
think
60 or 70 or 80?
No, I think he got. I think
he could get some Democratic votes. The red state
sure.
Democrats are up for re-election.
I'm not sure that it matters at this point because I think the bigger point.
It matters a lot, actually.
Well, no, it'd be nice, but it doesn't matter in terms of Graham saying we can get you up so that it used to be that the Senate would be sort of near unanimous. I mean, you'd have to be outrageous.
It also used to be that you needed 60 votes, but who changed that?
Harry Reid.
I know who changed that.
Thank you, Harry.
Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. And this is one of the fables put out by Republicans. Oh, Democrats changed it for lower
Reid
court
changed
federal
it for
judge.
confirmations, Mitch McConnell said, be careful what you wish for. This will come back to hurt you.
Yeah, because then he ratcheted
everyone.
it up to the Supreme Court. But
There's
I just wanted to finish
a tweet from
this.
Harry Reid. He's thanking everybody who encouraged him to do filibuster reform so that they could do exactly what they wanted. And now today, Democrats are regretting that they ever did
Well,
that.
okay, I just disagree because I think that it was Republicans who did away with the filibuster on a Supreme Court nominee fact.
No,
but here's the thing
that's
about
not a fact.
It is a fact.
No,
but
Dana just schooled you about it. It started in the lower courts.
Yes,
they
that's
pulled out the nuke option, and then Republicans brought it to the Supreme Court.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay. You're just sour grapes. That's all.
Sour grapes. That you have a different case. But let me just say on the merits here that I think the important thing that is going on is the Democrats are trying to suggest that, look, all this guy is a rubber stamp. He's a political actor. He's been a political actor all his life. And in specific, that he's a guy who would let President Trump off if Trump ever tries to self-pardon himself or request or reject the subpoena from a prosecutor.
Katie, do you think he would do that? Do you think he's just a Trump rubber stamp, or you think he's an independent guy?
Today we learned that he ruled against the Bush administration in a very important terrorism case.
Well, he ruled against the Bush administration 27 times, and the one that really stung was the Hamdan decision.
Oh, now I don't like him.
That's the thing, right? I heard that today and go, I think I'm changing my opinion. But on the lighter side of this, as Greg was saying, this has been a long day. I would say that I am happy I got some Harvard education without the price tag today by listening to Brett Kavanaugh. But I really liked when he talked about playing as a team, and I think he was showing his bipartisanship And the idea that he's going to go into the Supreme Court, it's a team of 9. He can be influenced by the other justices, his work with Elena Kagan. The Ted Cruz exchange when he talked about Merrick Garland and Judge Kavanaugh's work with Merrick Garland, how they agreed on 90+%.
He says he's going to be influenced by Elena Kagan?
He said that he learned a lot from Elena Kagan. I know you're changing your mind. My point is that Democrats are seeing this now, and Republicans actually helped portray this, that he's not this right-wing crazy guy. He's actually a pretty moderate, middle-of-the-road conservative.
He's a moderate?
I'm crushing all of Jesse's hopes and dreams right now.
Jesse likes
Jesse's going to go protest
Jesse
tomorrow.
wants a right-wing Trump. Well, how would you say it, my poet laureate friend? You want someone who is Trumpian on the court.
He's afraid he's going to be another candidate.
No, actually, but can I just say one last thing? That we've learned a lot about the founding of the country and Federalist 17 and all this today. But advise and consent is what the Senate is supposed to do. And it was purely about, for a long time, about qualifications. He is highly qualified. Everyone agrees with that.
Yeah, but it's not about qualifications. If
Not
you think
anymore.
the swing seat on the court is going to the right.